All right, we're in the studio of Red Quill Media, and the Libertarians have taken it over. It was not a hostile takeover, though. They're allowing us some time to come in and talk about libertarianism and what it's like to run as a candidate for the Libertarian Party in the state. So, my name is Drew Koester. I'm running in Senate District 41, which is Helena. And I'm with Tom Jandron, who is running for
United States Senate.
Yeah,
taking
God
over
bless you.
Steve Daines' position. So
Yes. So Tom is running for the Senate because you really want to go to D.C. That's why, right?
yes, a lifelong aspiration to go live in the cesspool. I don't even like calling it a swamp because I think it's too kind. A swamp is a nice ecosystem of life, and a sewer system is much more, I think, an accurate description of D.C. But yes, I guess I'm going to get my feet dirty. And
It's interesting running campaigns because you're doing a national campaign. So the stuff you are going to be talking about is national level policy. And I'm doing the state. So there's only so much that I can do at the legislature as a state senator. But at the federal level, we're getting into the big news media topics. So we're talking about foreign policy and spending and the big hot button issues.
mm-hmm.
What would you say is your number one issue?
My number one issue is I am the no war candidate. We have to really take a hard look at what we've been doing and where we're at currently with, Iran and still the threat of Ukraine. And we just need to take a complete step back and reevaluate our purpose as a country and stop bringing our troops home, and all our foreign entanglements. So that's kind of my main drive is to be that stalwart to refrain Congress and the executive branch from launching us into another war. So,
Yep, party of peace.
yes,
Now, does peace mean we're a doormat?
absolutely not. If you want to come and actually attack America and threaten us like a true threat, then we will stomp you into the ground. But but we don't need to go and fight a war for another country's interests, and that's what we've been doing. And so it hasn't gotten us anywhere except for $39 trillion in debt, quickly rising to 40. Leaving our future generations in complete, disarray and somewhat hopeless. So we need to draw back and really take a hard look at our country's needs and our future generations' needs.
So because libertarians love to debate,
mm-hmm.
I think much to the annoyance of somebody that just just get to the point. We can sit forever and dissect things. A little bit nerdy in that way. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say, Tom, Iran is going to get a nuclear weapon if we don't go to war. What would you say?
I've heard that. I heard that a couple months ago. I heard that a few years ago. I heard that 20 years ago. They're always 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. And, it's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, all the intel agencies have shown time after time that they were not actually ready to go beyond that 60% enrichment. There was a fatwa, I don't know. To wrap your head around it, so supposedly Iran is this extreme Muslim, the Ayatollah is like the Pope in their religion. And so he releases a fatwa saying that we're not going to create a nuclear weapon. But then at the same time, they're still secretly doing this, or there's some other group that's secretly doing this. It just kind of doesn't jive with that they are so religious that they do everything that this Ayatollah tells them to do, yet they're building a nuclear weapon. So there's kind of like a disconnect there between realities if you really dissect it.
I also feel like the reason keeps changing. And sometimes when they keep moving the goalpost, they might be doing that because they're not giving you the real reason. So we were told, oh, we bombed their nuclear facility. The 12-day war was a huge success. Mm-hmm. And yay, no more nuclear threat. Then we were told, well, they're slaughtering their own people. So clearly we have to rush in and bomb the people to save the people.
Right.
So I understand, like, if you're sitting there watching the news, and somebody once told me that once you can be anti-war, but once they gear up that war propaganda, you're going to be for it. And I think you see, they just really know how to market this. This is really good marketing, or it has been. Mm-hmm. Recently, it kind of seems to be falling apart because I don't feel like that's working as much since the media has been so decentralized. I grew up Bush Republican. You know, I was when 9/11 happened, I watched the towers fall at high school. And I remember we were really confused as to why anybody would come attack us. And we were told, well, they just hate us because we're rich and free. So I was really supportive of the Iraq war, and I remember they were like, he's got weapons of mass destruction, and it ended up being a lie. Mm-hmm. And then I think they said 1 million Iraqis died, and we kind of, you know, the country, it wasn't like it was a free country, but it had like electricity, and it had like, they had their own country structure. And going in and bombing that, I mean, bombs don't build buildings.
Nope.
So I have shifted completely the other way on my view of our foreign policy. And in fact, I can't do anything about the national foreign policy, but you and I have worked together on the Defend the Guard legislation at the state level. We've both gone down to testify for that against the war machine. And that is a very constitutional bill.
Indeed.
It gets a lot of pushback, but anytime you're trying to rein in the government, you get a lot of push. There's always a million reasons. This is essential.
Right.
So it's kind of, when you step back and take a picture at all the arguments, it can be a little laughable. You're like, wait a second.
Right.
You're really taking our representatives up in helicopters and being like, we're going to take all your helicopters away, which it's just kind of, it's a clown show. It's like, so that made you change your vote on a constitutional bill because you got a helicopter ride?
Yeah, and that just kind of goes to show how kind of weak our legislators are and how uninformed they are. Yeah, you and I both worked on the Defend the Guard. It was a project that I took very personal, being a retired Montana Army National Guard soldier. I was in that aviation unit that you were talking about, and great organization, great group of people there. But passing that is just one step, one tool that the states can use at that level in order to curtail the executive branch and Congress in Washington. Just get a little backgrounder for people that might not know. The Defend the Guard bill would essentially prevent the governor from allowing the National Guard soldiers to being called up on Title 10 orders for combat operations. So they would still be able to do border missions. They would still be able to do the state firefighting mission, because that's a different title section. They could still do many of the things that they already do. They can augment active duty still, stateside. It just prevents that into actual combat operations. And again, it would just put that extra check because, during the GWAT, I think it was like 60% of the soldiers that were going into Iraq and Afghanistan were National Guard soldiers. And it was just this constant rotation through the states. I personally know guys who've been over there like 6-7 times. I was in Afghanistan in 2012, and then in 2019 I was getting ready to go back to Iraq. And it's just again, it's a tool. It's gaining momentum. It's been proposed in many other states, and it keeps getting further and further each time. So I think that it's catching on, and people are seeing the value of it. Since Congress is unwilling to actually declare war, and they just go along with the executive war powers and AUMFs and all that kind of stuff, it's a way for the people at the local level to have that check on that power. And going back to what you were talking about earlier too, on how I guess the Overton windows kind of shifted on back after 9/11. People were gung-ho. I know I was. And then, of course, as the fog of war time sheds light on the truth, everything that we were told, Colin Powell talking about there's weapons of mass destruction. I mean, initially we were told that it was the Taliban that did the 9/11 and we had to go in Afghanistan, quickly shifted into Iraq, which there was no proof, evidence whatsoever that Saddam Hussein had anything to do with 9/11. And I think that with media today, the mainstream media doesn't have the same control over us. So with, I guess, the dissident media, I don't know how we want to, but
like right now,
right,
media.
like right now, there's a lot more truth that gets out there. They're not controlled by big corporations or the CIA psyops. They do spend a lot of money on psyoping us into whatever it is, whether it's war or COVID or whatnot. And I think people are starting to finally realize what they do to us. And, fear is the ultimate control tool. And that's, of course, always the one that they push hardest against, because once people are afraid, then they'll go along and do kind of whatever they're told. So, but, the hope is that people are starting to realize this Iran war is wildly unpopular. I mean, it's completely fractured the MAGA base. Trump has kind of destroyed his legacy. He ran hard on no new wars.
No new wars, Epstein list.
Yeah, all these things, immigration, and, he's backtracking on all of them. Congress is a complete feckless bunch that just...
Yeah, there's supposed to be 3 branches.
Right.
And Congress has really just surrendered so much of its power to the executive branch. Mm-hmm. We need to send strong congressmen up there. And I also think it's important to be good on your feet in real time when things are scary.
Sure.
So having principles of why we don't do this to hold you steady when they are really pumping out the, it's for the children, or there's a terrorist threat, or we have, why is this a no for me?
Right.
So I think of, just to shift the conversation, you see that attack a lot of times with gun rights, which to me, gun rights are property rights.
Yes.
And there is a push a lot of times, anytime there's a school shooting, for what they call common sense gun safety laws. What do you feel about gun rights as a libertarian, Tom?
I challenge anybody out there to be any more Second Amendment absolutist than I will be. I would like to be able to jump on Amazon and buy whatever gun that I want and have it delivered in the mail without any federal background checks or anything else, 2 to 3 days later. There is some hope, I guess. We got a new ATF director, and they did rescind a lot, but unfortunately that's, a lot of this are administrative policies instead of, laws that have been codified. So next administration, somebody can come in, put a new ATF director, and change them right back to the way they were. So we saw a little bit of hope with the big, beautiful bill where they got rid of the tax for silencers and SPRs. But really we need to look at the NFA of 32, 1 of 36, the 1983 gun law, the 64 or 8 gun law, and just get rid of all of them. The Constitution is the only law that we need, shall not be infringed.
It's pretty clear.
It's pretty clear. Yeah, I mean, I'm no constitutional lawyer.
It seems pretty clear. Like they couldn't have written it any clearer than what it is.
So, yeah, that's Second Amendment. And again, going back to, the fear, like, there's school shooting, there's gang shootings, whatever, and they terrify people into, well, we need to gather up all the guns and make it a complete gun-free world. Well, it's never going to happen. I mean, criminals by definition are going to do whatever they want. They're a criminal. They're still always going to get the weapon. Meanwhile, you and I can't protect our families. So, yeah, it's.
I think you also have to remember that America's massive.
It is.
And so what somebody may want on the West Coast is not what somebody in Montana is going to want.
Right.
So enforcing like rules that the big cities want, and I don't even know if everyone in the big city wants them, on the middle of the country, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. And that's why the federal government has just gotten so massive, and they are overreaching so much. So on that note, I mean, what federal agency can get you in trouble would you think needs to just kind of go away? It's not serving the people. You can only pick one.
I can only pick one. Oh, boy.
Tom didn't know any of the questions I was going to ask, so he is on the spot.
On the spot. I can only choose one?
Well, I mean, I could say mine, but I'm not running for federal office, so. You could say TSA. That's the right answer. No, I'm kidding.
TSA is a good one. Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, I think that probably is the number one that should go away. So probably, I guess, it'd start there.
That'd be a good one.
Yep.
I mean, we could list all day.
At all.
Yeah.
The ATF should be a convenience store.
I agree with that.
There's many that should go away, but yeah, the FBI seems to be the most compromised, it seems. So, yeah, I guess I would start there.
I feel like when Trump came in, so he I'd say he marketed to the libertarians.
He's a good marketer.
He is a good marketer. When he ran, mostly because I don't think he could have won without the independent and libertarian movement. We've seen the party numbers for the two big parties drop and independent numbers rising.
Yes.
People are not joining the two big parties like they used to. And I think it's because when I talk to voters, Democrat, Republican, or mostly the independents, they are very discouraged. A lot of them tell me, and this is where I'm going to run into problems in my district, a lot of my people don't vote anymore because they say it doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter, and they don't care what I think.
It's true.
This is a chronic problem. And I was even talking to the people that I'm running against, and they're saying, yeah, a lot of people we're talking to just say my vote doesn't matter. It's just a universal problem. I was talking to a Democrat. I was talking to a never Trump Republican, old school. I was talking to independent. I was talking to, a Republican. They're just like, we don't think our vote matters. And then Donald Trump comes in. He's got this huge red wave. And, excuse me, he just does what every other one of them does that gets in there. And I think it was a moment where it was like there was some sort of excitement in the country. You know me, I wasn't ever a Trump person. Somebody was shocked when I said that, and they're like, why? And I said, well, he's just not extreme enough for me. But the betrayal, when he looked at the camera and said, are we still talking about Epstein?
Right.
That for me was like, oh, and we're done. Like, yes, this is a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Yeah.
It's a massive deal. And to think that Epstein was the only operative, there isn't that kind of stuff still continuing.
Oh, there's 100% probably
this
100 more
needs to
Epsteins.
be cleaned up.
Right.
And it's not even the salacious stories. It's more like we have intelligence. This is a security threat.
Yeah, it's
If you got
compromised.
compromised,
Yeah.
people making decisions. Epstein was part of some very big negotiating deals. That's very concerning.
Indeed.
How are you getting that kind of leverage? And I know politics is dirty, but I mean, I kind of draw the line at that's a little too dirty.
Yeah. So many ways to go on that. Yeah, the Epstein thing, I think, was kind of the deal breaker. That was kind of the final straw for so many of the MAGA, people who supported Trump. It was tremendous amount of that independent vote. We actually felt like somebody was going to represent us in Washington.
Drain the swamp.
Yeah, drain the swamp. We had a strong man that was going to go in, appeared to not be compromised because he had, his own wealth and everything
the
else.
media hated him, which was like, he must not be on that team.
Right. I mean, I wound up voting for Trump this last time myself.
I didn't, but go ahead.
Well, that's fine. That was my first time, but it was, for one, the choices that we had were. I'm
aware.
It was either not vote or vote for him, but I was always really skeptical of him, especially the first two, and I thought on his first term, I'd probably rate him at like a 60-40 up until the COVID time hit. Mm-hmm. And then once he went along with that and just didn't push back and constantly had Fauci out there every single day, I was like, quickly flipped at the end. And then, of course, he sent out checks and everything else and inflated our deficit even further. But, I thought with that 4-year break and all the lawfare that he went through, that maybe he really realized
these aren't your
exactly
friends.
What the problem is. And I mean, being the marketer that he is, I mean, we all know, gold everything, Trump Towers. He sold us perfect, exactly what we wanted to hear. And it is quickly, a year in, and it's already completely destroyed. So gone back on everything. Going back to people not feeling like their vote matters, the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter because everybody in Congress is bought and paid for by a lobbyist. So unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions and billions of dollars to throw at these people, they don't care about us. And it's proven time and time again. I don't care how hard you vote. It's not vote harder, not vote in the right Republican, the right Democrat. They're all bought and paid for once they get there. I was just listening to Tucker Carlson's show today, and he was explaining, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was explaining just how pervasive that money is. And so when these people get elected and they go out there and they get, brought out, and it almost sounds like a cattle sale, they got all these lobbyists that are bidding on them and they're taking their dollars. So they don't have to actually come back and answer to the people that voted them in and raise money locally in their states or in their districts because they have all the money coming in that they need from the lobbyists in Washington. So, yeah, in many regards, our vote, until people wake up and realize, just like they've waken up to the wars and everything else, that voting for a Democrat or Republican is not going to get them what they want. We need a viable third party, maybe a fourth party. I don't know what that is, but we need to have more choice than just, the red team, blue team. It's two wings of the same bird, and every single time there's no aisle there. So, yeah, it's a really sad state.
I know
major reason why I decided to run, just to say, hey, there is another choice. There are other options. There are good people willing to do the job. You just have to take the stand and vote for somebody else. I don't know. I don't understand with that.
I think the hard thing about it is that the people that are attracted to the power are the people you don't want to have the power. Like you and I were talking before we started about how serving in office is somewhat of a sacrifice.
Absolutely.
It's not like I am so excited to be the guy. When the Libertarian Party was like recruiting who they were going to have, I was talking to one of the organizers. I was like, you got to pick people who are servant leaders, who are humble, who don't want to be who aren't always looking around the room to talk to the most important person, who are willing to not be at the big boys table,
Right.
you know, and finding those people who are productive in society, are working or raising families, and being like, we need you to step up to the plate is hard, because for them it's not something they don't have like main character energy, like they're not trying to get this spot, but we need them in government like desperately. Like I look at my kids and I want them, I want my grandkids to not be born into debt.
Yeah.
40 trillion in debt. This is a crisis. I keep telling people, I'm like, I know math is boring, but you have to understand financially, this is an emergency, like red alert, breaking news tweet. We're in a crisis. There is no more money.
Right.
Even if you want to go to war with Iran, there's no money.
No money to
there
do
is
it.
no money. And when you look at the federal budget, I think it's only 2% is going to roads. You know, the big argument against libertarians where they're like, well, who's going to pay for the roads? Like 2%?
Nobody's fixing them
I would
now.
be happy if you took, okay, well, we'll pay the 2%. Can we keep the 98?
Right.
Like, I don't want to go blow up the other side of the world for countries that don't even have an air force and have never, ever heard of 9/11, which would be most of Afghanistan.
Right.
So it's the betrayal of the American people by the Trump administration. I mean, they've all betrayed the American people. But I remember last time I was at Red Quill, we were talking about Trump, and it was exciting because it was during the Doge cuts, and it was like,
Something might
yeah,
actually
something's
come.
happening.
Yeah.
There was action taking place. And then the heartbreak. I think it's important people remember that there were regular citizens who went to jail for Trump. Like they believed that fervently that somebody finally heard them.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to do that, I just think that makes him, and I know people get angry at me for saying it, but that makes you more despicable than Biden.
It
and
does. He
Harris.
left them in the wind. He could have pardoned all of them, and he really has never come
Well,
out.
I think he did pardon them, but I think it took an
finally,
act of
but it
God.
took a long time to do it, and so he just kind of left his most ardent supporters in the wind.
And then Marjorie Taylor Greene was
And
his gal.
Yep, absolutely, and quickly turns on his real friends, and then switches and buddies up with Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and all these other never Trump guys who are now supposedly the MAGA. His loyalty, I question, on really how loyal he is on, and that's a big one for me. I mean, without your loyalty to
Absolutely.
your friends and the people that support you, I don't know what else are you. It's just that's kind of the.
Well, even as for you as a soldier, like loyalty to your country
Yes.
is a massive, you're asked to take a bullet.
Yep.
And to see your leader just cast aside his troops, it's just, I don't know. I mean, you can tell he's not needing to run again.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's a PR nightmare. But
Yep.
anyway, it's just, I feel like with how do you get people to come out and vote for you when this is the feeling in the country? How do you convince them, look, I'm going to have my wife with me the whole time I go anywhere in D.C.
Right.
I am not getting compromised and I'm not taking any money. How do you convince them?
I don't know. I'm just getting the message out there and being on record to say that will refuse any APAC money. I'm not going to kiss any walls. I'm not going to be compromised. I will have, my wife and I have been together for 23 years. And I really don't want her going to Washington just because, yuck. um, but I'll have a good security team just to keep.
You'll have an accountability partner.
Exactly. Going back to something you mentioned earlier, just like having people that don't seek power. I'm not the type. I don't like the limelight. Like this whole doing podcasts.
Are you comfortable right now?
No, I'm not at all. This is not my thing, but we need strong people and strong men to stand up that are just right from the community and make that sacrifice. I made sacrifice. I served the country in the Army, and here I am willing to make that sacrifice again for the people in Montana to go serve in Washington. Honestly, like, do I want to go to Washington? No, but we're in such dire emergency as a nation that we need to have somebody else go there that's not going to be bought and paid for, that's going to stay true to their core beliefs and their values. And, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the right guy, but I'm willing to go.
Tom's the right guy. Don't listen to him.
I can promise you I'm not going to bend the knee to the power in Washington. And I guess just kind of conveying that message and also calling out to, other people like us that, you have a small business with your husband. My wife runs a small business. I work on aircraft. Like, I have a 40-hour-a-week job that I'm also running this campaign. I don't have big money backing me. I'm not getting, lobbyists or anybody sending me thousands of dollars.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much money is pumped into these political campaigns right out the gates.
Yeah.
It's actually shocking if you look at, especially national, your heart breaks. It's like, if you wanted to do some good in the world, you just spent, you could have blown that hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on something really great, but you did it to win a congressman. So,
right. Well, the 2024 Montana Senate race, it was right $270 million, if I remember correctly. I mean,
for one seat.
I mean, Tester and Sheehy spent around $80 million between the two of them, and then with all the PAC money, it was the largest, without going, Montana was the largest money spent, I think, in any Senate campaign, from what I understand. But definitely a lot of money for a Montana Senate seat. I mean, and again, though, that's how they get compromised, and that's why they don't answer to us, because when you get that kind of money, you're answering to the people that gave you that money, not to the people that actually voted you into office. So,
and I think, like any criminal enterprise, do you have a choice but to answer to them?
Right.
Because if you start being like, oh yeah, I'll take your money and do what I want.
Right.
What's going to happen?
Right.
I mean, I wonder.
Yeah, exactly. So
that much money flies around. Don't think that some people are not above doing some dirty things.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
It's a sad state.
I feel, though, so we've had our downtime. And I feel like we still need to address the fact that this is America. And there are some of the most incredible human beings in the world in this country.
100%.
This is, in my opinion, and I am biased because, Montana is the best state in the entire union. And we are the best country in the world. One thing I really want to clean up is I want to feel so proud that how we are conducting ourselves.
Right.
I remember hearing stories about the United States and their behavior. Somebody said that before all these wars started in the Middle East, before we started getting involved with Britain's stuff with Iran and Saudi Arabia and stuff, that the Middle Eastern countries would ask for the United States to be the mediator in negotiations because they trusted them. Mm-hmm. That's been shot out of the water. And I want us to be the North Star. I want people to think of America as, what what we were supposed to be.
Right. The shining beacon.
The shining beacon. Yeah. We were never perfect,
No.
but there was the goal of let's try to get there. Thomas Jefferson, people don't know, he wanted to abolish slavery. Initially, he was the young guy writing the Declaration. He's like, let's do it all in one swoop. Right. Let's do it. Everyone do it at once. And they were like, no, we're not doing that. The bureaucrats were like, excuse me?
Right.
Yeah. No, stop being a radical, you know? And he was a slave owner, but it was the idea of let's get better at this. Mm-hmm. I see with the youth and with my kids and their friends, there's a lot of hope there. And I don't think there's a lot of people that act like, oh, we're just going to crash down. It's like our empire may get smaller because our resources are stretched thin. However, this country, I wonder if, despite what we've been told and that people are just going to be selfish and not going to care, I just wonder if we're going to have like a great awakening as far as like what liberty is. I don't know. I mean, either the next generation is going to go full red revolution or we're going to go full American revolution. And I don't mean in like a bloody way.
Right.
So that's what I'm hopeful for. When I campaign, I try to educate a little bit. It's easier if it's a lot younger person. It's very hard to get through the old propaganda.
It is.
When I'm talking to someone who's very set, and this is how we do it. But what we're doing is not going to be able to last much longer. There is no money. Right. So mathematically, we need someone like you who sees that, someone like Thomas Massey.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as empire goes, we could stand to shrink the empire. We were not supposed to be an empire to begin with, and all the founding fathers have talked about that throughout, all the writings. We have 193 bases throughout the world. We can still project power, and I think actually we can project more power if we did draw back in, focused on making America truly great. I mean, what the shining beacon, what it was intended to be, by not having, our bases all over the world, and change that into more of a diplomatic outreach than, a military force outreach is basically what we're doing now. I think there is hope. There should be hope. I mean, this is the greatest country on earth, and Montana is undisputedly the best state.
Absolutely.
In this country. I'll challenge anybody to that. And I've lived in quite a few states, and, just brief times and traveling throughout the military. I mean, there's aspects of them all that are great, but Montana is the best people by far. Just kind of, we still have that like frontier sort of mentality and independence. So we do need to, with our children, because I have, 3 kids, 20, 16, and 11, so kind of that spectrum. And I really want them, and we all need to set their generations up better than how ours is. And, and unfortunately, previous generations seem to be very self-centered and self-interested and did not really care about the prosperity of the country and their grandchildren, great-grandchildren.
They're nearsighted.
It was very nearsighted, yeah. And so, now $39 trillion in debt, it's, they talk about, oh, we're going to cut a tax here or cut a tax there, but the spending continues. And
you have to do both simultaneously.
Absolutely, yeah. And, like something like Rand Paul's penny plan, where it's, I can't remember the exact details of it, but, I was reading through it a couple of weeks ago, and it just kind of makes sense to draw back the budgets of these organizations. And so, yeah, we owe that to our children and our grandchildren most of all. Like, we really need to take a hard look at where we're at and realize that this isn't sustainable. We cannot just dole out money to, every organization, every country in the world. It's we need to focus on making America better and our problems.
And we need a free market.
Free market would be good.
Yeah, because we don't have one.
No, not.
I know in my industry, we're getting construction, that kind of stuff. The green policies, the regulations that come down as the government tries to force this idea of greenness on us all.
Right.
Which, to me, if it's a great idea, there will be a market for it. The government trying to create the market, whether it's through tax incentives, a lot of we see as regulations. We do heating and air. I can't tell you how many times we've had to change refrigerant because they keep modifying what is legal, or having new requirements. It's just killing. It's killing our costs, our constructions, our trades by like 1,000 cuts. A lot of people ask me, well, what are you going to do at the local level for housing? It's like, well, here's one of the big problems. The biggest problem is a lot of the problems we see with the money is at the federal level.
Right.
They are killing the dollar value. We see the massive inflation in healthcare, which is all government. We see it in education, and we're seeing it in housing. There are things we can do at the state level, but it's like attacking a dragon with a box cutter, and I'm willing to jump in there and take a few slices. But it's so many nonsensical little policies. I think we can really attack it, but we're going to have to do a lot to make up for the damage that has been done.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power on the state level, and people need to realize just how much
we can nullify.
We can nullify everything.
Yeah.
It does make it difficult to some extent with large manufacturing because, like you said, the federal government puts in all these regulations. California dictates what basically the rest of the country, and they force the rest of the country to follow what they want to do. But we just need to still look and whatever cut you can make.
Do it.
1,000 cuts adds up. You can take down the giant with 1,000 cuts.
Well, and also I think it's important to remember the giant is made up of a bunch of bureaucrats.
Right.
If you are pushing enough of the policies, they will back down fairly quickly.
Right.
They will change their tune. A lot of these people want power. They want power, popularity, that kind of stuff. A lot of them are not true believers in what they're doing.
No, of course not.
So you push back. They're like, oh, yeah, of course we were going to do that anyway.
Right.
It's like, okay, you weren't. But
right. No, I think, and then too, you get enough states that are like-minded and they nullify these things, and then it nullifies whatever California does. It just makes it, there's manufacturing in all different states, and if they pass laws to say, no, we're just not going to abide by this, do not follow the rules. Somebody was telling me that because of some of the trucking and California's EPA regulations that they passed, that Costco had to completely switch their fleet of trucks just to comply with California's laws. Otherwise, they would have had to drive a semi up to the border of California and then switch trucks to a California-compliant semi-truck in order to get the goods. Well, starve them out. That'll teach them a lesson.
Well, I don't know why. California could be its own country.
It could be.
Yeah.
Let them have it.
I mean, they make a lot of revenue. We can watch them plow through it and still, have this massive budget. They're one of the richest places. And then they can I don't know what they're doing with it. They spend it on a train that goes nowhere. It's $35 billion on this nonsensical train. It's like your guys' policies. You can make all the money in the world and you would still be broke.
Right. Yeah. They're a wreck. And
yeah, we are true Montanans because we're sitting here in Salton, California. Poor California. We do like to go to Disneyland, but
I've never been.
Okay. So Tom is a real Montanan.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing that gives me a lot of hope. In the 1990s, long ago. People started to just pull their kids out of the public system. It was the homeschool movement really kicked off then. It wasn't coordinated. It didn't have a committee. It didn't have a SEC group that was doing it. It didn't have any funding going into it like you normally see, like the Free State Project has been coordinated. Homeschoolers just started doing it, and they had to scramble and write laws to keep up with us. That is one of the most organic libertarian movements taking place in the country because the homeschoolers didn't ask for permission. They just started doing it. There was no leader. It just started happening. And Montana, it was just nullification. People just did it and they didn't ask permission. And so then they had to write laws to keep up with them. That is how it's done.
Yeah.
So I know I'm not supposed to encourage people to just nullify things, but that was a beautiful example of how it happens. And it's just a movement that's continuing to increase. It's continuing to have amazing results. We already have a ton of studies on it. This is one of my main things I'm running on, is making Montana even more friendly to homeschool laws. And the public school system, meanwhile, is costing like billions every year. And they're testing in Montana at a 50% proficiency rate. So no matter how much money you throw in there, they can't keep up.
No, you just need to spend more money.
Oh my gosh.
More money is always the answer.
Yeah,
Drew.
that seems to be like the more something is funded, the better it gets with public funds.
Yeah, it always works out so well. No, the homeschooling thing, I mean, between you and we have really close friends down in Bozeman that have homeschooled their kids. And, there is a big difference in the, education. I mean, the homeschool kids are much better, like more successful or set up to be more successful in life. They just have that like more independent thought and kind of that self-resiliency too. Just, I don't know, they're impressive kids. And
oh, they're still normal kids, just so everyone knows. They still
impressive.
Hate doing their homework.
Sure,
they
right?
still
Yeah.
It is a massive sacrifice, but I had to bring it up because it is one of the most beautiful libertarian movements that I've seen. It's not officially libertarian, but the way it happened,
the idea
is
of
totally libertarian.
Yeah. And that, nullification, there's lots of elements in society that we can kind of take that, like
if a law becomes obsolete, if people stop being like, no, we're not doing that.
Exactly. Yep.
It's just not practical. Nope.
Yeah. I wish more people knew about jury nullification.
Yeah.
And we don't need to get into that right now. But
I am dying to get on a jury, Helena. I'm dying. I'm registered to vote. Put me on a jury.
Right. Yeah. Jury nullification can get rid of a whole lot of nonsense.
I'm letting every defense attorney in town know that. Unless your client's guilty, then I'm totally convicting. Yeah. But I would be there.
Yep.
They never pick me, though.
I have not been selected in, I think, 20 years.
I think they see me coming, and they're like, nope, not that one. That one's not.
I'm on a do not call list.
I would be there. I have a question.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
all right.
Hopefully, once you get to the Senate, you can do a lot more for the homeschool.
Well, we already are pretty friendly, but we can be better.
We can be better.
We can
always
do better.
Be better.
So we always need to push it while we have a friendly
momentum.
window. Yeah,
exactly.
And I do want to say this about my race. It is a weird one because it is me versus a Democrat.
I'm excited.
And there's no Republican.
I'm really excited. I think that you have an incredible opportunity to be the first libertarian to be voted into a state office.
My gosh, that would be so amazing.
It would be incredible.
I would cry. First of all, because I'm such a long shot. Okay, they have tens of thousands of dollars because they're one of the big parties. Mm-hmm. I have the support of my aunts that send me donations.
Well, I got a coworker in your district, and he's going to vote for you. So
there we go.
There's three.
I got to vote. No, but that would be.
I think you're going to do great.
A libertarian winning and going to the Capitol would change the entire political scape in the state. It would put real competition in. Right now, the Republicans are only competing against socialists. Mm-hmm. You put in a libertarian, they have to contend with them. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a major switch up. It's going to be Montana saying we are done with the status quo and we are done with things just being run by the lobbyists.
Yep.
I think it's really incredible. I think it's also important to mention, Montana sent Jeanette Rankin to Congress, first Congresswoman ever. So we're not afraid to do something
We're
new.
not afraid to do something new. I mean,
So.
that's that rugged individualism that
Yes.
we, are.
Great
who
estate.
We are. So,
All right, we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
All right, so plug your website and where people can give you money because campaigns need money.
They do need money, yes. So Tom Jandron, the number 4, USSenate.com. And then you can follow me on all the socials. My Facebook is Tom Jandron for US Senate. And you can find me on X at Tom Jandron. And follow me. I throw out some spicy things like draft Lindsey Graham. And so
Let's
not
draft
afraid
Lindsey.
to, well, we should. But
Him and his bubble wand.
I know he's
can
already
go.
served, but, he maybe actually needs to go to the front line. So, yeah.
Yeah, go serve if you believe that much. Anyway. You can find me at Drew for Montana. It's the letter 4. So drewformontana.com. And that's where you can find my website and read about me. You can message me with any questions. I'm actually fairly accessible. And I am not on Facebook, but I am on X.
You've been banned.
I have been banned for yes.
Life.
I have a lifetime ban from Facebook. So if any of you guys think I'm a plant, I'm definitely not. I am the real deal.
The real deal. That's right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Tom.
you.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.